What's up guys, coming at you again today with another Supra video, and oh my gosh, I have to tell you, all day at work today I've been so excited to get off work and come home and make this video today, because in the last couple days there's been so much information coming out about the Supra, stuff that we've never heard before, and I just can't wait to tell you guys about it. The main piece of information that we're going to be talking about today comes from an exclusive interview with Tada-san, basically the main developmental engineer of the Supra, the guy in charge of making this car happen. So what happened is a handful of journalists were given kind of a private interview, an opportunity for a private interview with Tada-san. And in this interview, they asked a lot of controversial questions. And one of the questions that was answered has to do with a completely in-house developed Toyota Supra. One that wasn't partnered with BMW, one that has a completely Toyota developed chassis, completely Toyota developed suspension, and most importantly, a completely Toyota developed engine, what would basically be the 3JZ. Now before we get into that too much, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I actually need to mention something that's going to be happening in today's episode, which is the first of 4 giveaways. So if you missed the last upload, what we're doing in celebration and in a thank you of us hitting 20,000 subscribers on the channel is I'm basically going to be doing 4 giveaways in a row for each of the 4 uploads coming, and today's the first. So what you need to do to win these giveaways is sometime in these episodes, a little code for an Amazon gift card is going to pop up. All you need to do once you see that code is hurry as fast as you can, head over to Amazon and redeem that code. So basically the first person to see that and to put it in Amazon is going to be the one who wins. Now don't worry if you didn't know about that and you missed today's giveaway, because there's 3 more coming. So all you need to do is be subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you can have the advantage of knowing exactly when I upload a video. Get over there as fast as you can and redeem that code. Good luck guys. Okay, so as I mentioned, concerning a completely Toyota in-house developed Supra. So, it's no secret that the biggest point of controversy over the new Supra has to do with the fact that the engine is not a 3JZ or just a completely Toyota developed engine. People are a little upset that it came from BMW, even though Toyota kind of had their hands in it with tweaking a few little things to make sure that it met Toyota's reliability standards. So none of the information with Toyota and BMW collaboration and all those details is anything new. But what is new is a lot of the details about Toyota's own development with the Supra that had nothing to do with BMW. I think that a lot of people just think that right away Toyota immediately sold out and went to BMW because they didn't want to put the effort into developing that car just by themselves. And that really isn't true. Let's look at some more details and some things specifically that Tada-san himself disclosed to this handful of journalists. So the question's been asked before, why did you guys, Toyota, partner with BMW on this car? And answers have been all over the place. We've heard things like, well, BMW wanted some of Toyota's hybrid technology, and Toyota wanted this about BMW, and blah blah blah. But this is what Tada-san said. When they decided that they wanted to bring some soul back to Toyota by making a sports car, they looked into building the Supra all by themselves and not having any partners. And a lot of looking into that has to do with making sure that this car was what they wanted to give to the people, and also in line with what that car would cost to do so for us consumers and as well for Toyota as the company making it. So Toyota didn't really just brush things off right away. They dug into this pretty deep and they worked everything out about what kind of car they could build by themselves and how much it would cost. So they did things like looking into developing a whole new chassis, doing their own suspension because they haven't built a sports car in so many years. I mean, it was 1998 when the last Supra was built. And then they looked at the 2JZ engine that they have now. Obviously, in that many years, there's been a lot of standards and technology that has evolved since then. They couldn't just throw the 2JZ into the new Supra and have that work. It wouldn't meet emission standards, it wouldn't meet today's weight and technology standards. There's just a lot of things that would have to change. So it basically would have to be all new, and that gets expensive. But just being expensive doesn't mean that Toyota's not going to do it. They invest a lot of money in a lot of things. And for Toyota, they understood that this wasn't going to be a high volume car like the Camry. This was going to be a halo car, something that really embodied the soul of Toyota and gave that to people to experience themselves. They realized how important this was, and so they looked at all these little details to make sure that they could give the people the best that they could. And so as far as the Supra, Tada-san, this is kind of like his baby car. He knew what he wanted it to be, and he really wanted to be able to give something special to as many people as he could from Toyota. And you know, I think that's really cool that he had the thought that he wanted to make sure that as many people as possible could experience this new sports car, the soul of Toyota that they we're ready to build. And so, after looking into everything like the cost of building the chassis, the cost of retooling, the cost of developing their own engine, maybe even their own transmission, and all of that stuff, they figured out that to make the Supra this way, it would have to cost around $100,000. No big deal, right? There's a lot of cars like its competitors, the Acura NSX, that is way more expensive than $100,000. Or you could look at the Nissan GTR, and that's right around 100, maybe a little bit more, the way that most people have them. So what that meant was they could build their own car and do everything on their own, but it was gonna be a little expensive for the average person. There still would be people obviously that would buy it, but just maybe not as much. And that's where it really didn't sit well with Tada-san, because the last Supra wasn't like a $100,000 car in today's money, of course, adjusted with inflation. It was a little more affordable. And being a little more affordable meant that it could touch the hands of more people. And that right there is the reason why they decided that they had to find a way to make this car a little bit more affordable for more people. And that also is where naturally the partnership came with BMW. Toyota could still have their hands greatly into what the Toyota Supra would be as a driver's car, but they needed a little help with developing the engine because that was honestly one of the most expensive parts. So they looked around and found who they thought made the best inline-six engines of today, and that's BMW. Well, according to Tada-san, and according to me too. So then right there was a decision to be made. Do we make a more expensive car that less people can have, or do we make a less expensive car that has a little help from someone else that a lot more people can experience? And they decided to go with the latter, of course. I know that's gonna piss a lot of you off. You're gonna be in the comments saying, Toyota should have made it all themselves. They should have done everything. They should have made their own engine. We need a 3JZ. And I don't disagree with you. A 3JZ would have been awesome. The more people that are making straight six engines, I love straight six engines, the better. In fact, it was just announced by Mazda that they're gonna be developing a straight six engine for some of their cars. But if we really get down to it, most of the people who are gonna be upset are gonna be Toyota fanboys who honestly are not gonna be buying a $100,000 Supra anyways. They just wanna be rooting for Toyota from the sidelines. And that's still pretty cool. But the people who I think are the most affected by Toyota deciding to partner with BMW and make a more affordable car are the people who can actually afford to buy it. And I really appreciate that because honestly, there's no way I'd be able to afford a $100,000 Supra. But in a couple of years, I definitely could buy a used, what used to be $50,000 Supra. So it's definitely more attainable to me because he decided to make that decision. And I'd rather have something than nothing. And so as much as people want the new Supra to be able to compete with cars like the GTR and the NSX, they're cars that are in so many few hands. They're cars that only very few people get to experience, and that just didn't sit very well with them. So now, let's talk more about this B58 engine that BMW made and Toyota kind of messed with a little bit. A lot of people complain that the fact that it only has 335 horsepower. Tada-san was asked about this in the interview as well, and his response was pretty interesting, and I think maybe gives us a little foreshadowing into some big plans that Toyota has for the future of the Supra. So the first thing that he made a point to say was, in the 2 days of journalists driving this car on the street and on the track, not one person complained about it not having enough horsepower.
Oh my god, that car is amazing. Absolutely a blast on the track.
And then the second thing that he said was, look, if you look at the BMW having 380 horsepower, if you want an extra 50 horsepower, that's easy. The car is easily moddable and easily tunable. And so for those people out there who want to do it, you can. But then he reiterated again, not one person in the 2 days complained saying that they thought it needed more horsepower. And now that the car's actually out and people are able to drive it and there's reviews on it, there's been some testing done and it's really, really surprising. Something that you have to know is that a lot of manufacturers today are not really advertising horsepower numbers as actual crank horsepower numbers. A lot of them are more like wheel horsepower numbers. And that's kind of evident when you compare the speed of the Supra against other cars that are even more expensive made today. I think it was Motor Authority tested the car at 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds, and I think a quarter mile in like 12.2 or 12.3, and that's pretty quick. They tested it faster than the Mustang GT350, they tested it faster than a Camaro SS1LE, they tested it faster than a Porsche Cayman GTS, just a lot of other cars that are more expensive and are generally seen as a higher performance car just based off of the way they look on paper with higher horsepower. The Supra is relatively light. It's got more power than you think it's got, and it's obviously performing really well. So with everything like that already mentioned, I want to know what you guys think. Me personally, I think that it's so awesome that he really wanted to get this car into as many hands as possible and make it the most affordable as he could and still be a car that he would put Toyota's stamp of approval on in being the best driver's car that they can produce for us. As cool as it would have been to see a completely Toyota developed car, it would have been a car that's so much less attainable and a lot less people would be able to drive and a lot less people would be able to enjoy. And it would have been cool to root for it from the sidelines, but I'd rather be behind the wheel. If you can't afford either, it's easy to say that they should have just gone all out and made the fastest car so that it can beat GTRs and it can beat the NSX and all that stuff. But when it really comes down to it, that really doesn't mean that much. What means the most is how you feel when you're behind the wheel of the car driving, how much you enjoy it yourself. And I can tell you that I'm gonna do my best to be able to enjoy that car myself, and as soon as it hits dealerships, I'm gonna be there in the showroom checking it out and bringing you guys along with me. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I hope it was informative for you. I hope it kind of gave you a glimpse into Tada-san's head and his vision for the Supra and what he wanted it to be for us, the consumers. If you guys enjoyed today's video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, especially if you want to win these giveaways coming up, make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss an episode, and I will see you in the next one.